So I'd like to talk about barking, and I am going to let you look at dogs and not me while I talk. What'd you do, Sabrina? So, realize a few things. Realize that barking is a guardian dog's primary way to guard. Young dogs are less discriminate about what they bark at than more mature dogs. These dogs have a work ethic that is tremendous, and they try really hard, and you don't get to vote on that. They believe that they're working, and that's how it is. So if the primary way to work is barking, that's what they're going to do. That's what they're supposed to do. If you go out and you yell at your dog for barking, he will try harder. You will shake his confidence because he will feel like he's let you down. He's not doing his job. They're so big on doing their job. So he will try harder. So he will bark more. So you set yourself back. So don't do that. So in the case of pups in a new home, barking can be a reactive behavior because they don't feel safe, because they just got there and they don't know where they are, and it got dark and the world is big and they don't know where they are. So they may bark at more things than they would if they had been there for a while, and almost assuredly actually. These dogs have been taught environmental discernment from a very early age, but you can count on things to regress when you add stimulus. When you put a dog in a new situation, he's going to go backwards a little bit, or he may. And so realize that and don't make too big of a deal out of it. However, if in the middle of the night you hear the dog doing a frenzied amount of barking and he's clearly scared and it's clearly a problem, go out there with them. Don't comfort the dog. Walk out next to the dog and say, "What's going on out here? Have you got this? Is this cool? Let's see." Walk around a little bit with the dog if you need to. Do whatever you need to in a matter-of-fact way to be physically near the dog until the dog starts to breathe again and starts to feel a little bit safe again. Then give him a cuddle and tell him, "You are the best dog. You've got this," and go back to bed. Don't go out there and cuddle the dog. Don't reward the dog for barking. That's not what this is. What this is honoring the fact that the dog is telling you something's going on and it's too big for me. You don't want over threshold barking. That is not helpful. Dogs don't learn well when they're afraid, and reactive barking is fearful. So if you have to in the first few days, walk out there a couple times a night. Usually that doesn't happen, but if you do, that's how you do it. And what happens with that is Pavlov's dog, is that the dog feels partnered by you, learns to be trusting of you, learns that you believe he can handle it. That's huge. Fake it if you need to. Go out there with your body language just screaming, "I know you've got this. This is great. You will just be fine." Give the dog a cuddle and go back. If that doesn't work, if you go out and you do that and the dog is just still over the top, it's just, this is not going well, the dog is spooked, the area for the dog to be in is too large for that circumstance. These dogs feel responsible for the area defined by a fence line. So if in the daytime they're okay in 2 acres and at night they're reactive and noisy in 2 acres, they may need a 1/4 acre overnight for the first little bit. So the first thing to do, if you've got a dog that's barking a lot and you can't get that back, bring the dog in a smaller area. Do not under any circumstances put the dog in a building, or God forbid in a crate. That will just, you wouldn't believe the consequence of that, and I hear about it. So it's important to the dog that you give him less space, that he can still visually manage his area. You give the dog less to guard, but you need to make sure that the dog can see everything that was worrying him before. It's safer for the dog because the perimeter is smaller, but he's still able to visually and by smell. Oh, that's interesting. A branch fell. They're all going to take it on. So make the area smaller. Don't sit out there with the dog. Don't make yourself a port in the storm. These dogs can learn separation anxiety. I unfortunately know that by the handling of one of my early pups in an innocent situation. So don't let the dog feel safer because you stay with it. Go out and be matter of fact and let the dog know he's going to be okay, and then go back in and bring him in a smaller area if you need to, and then go back in. If you absolutely have no choice but to put the dog in a building, use a mesh gate in the doorway so that the dog can see out of the building and look at everything that was worrying him before. The only way for these dogs to learn environmental discernment in their new area is to experience it. And if you thwart those efforts, you will make them crazy, and you will end up with dogs that do all kinds of screwy things that you don't want to have any part of. So super, super important. These guys, they're water dogs. And that's all I have to say for the moment.